All right, so get this. We're diving deep into, like, your article today, The Unshakeable Economy. Um,
Mm.
how's that for a title, right? The UK's adult industry, it's just like thriving while the rest of the world kind of freaks out.
It does make you wonder, doesn't it?
Yeah, and we've got like all this wild stuff to look at. Academic papers, actual news articles, even like a Wikipedia page about, get this, the lipstick effect.
Sounds like we're in for quite the ride. It's like we're piecing together this puzzle, but instead of some nice picture, we're getting this peek into an industry that just kind of shrugs off economic chaos.
Right. And just to make things a little spicier, we're going to make this deep dive a bit of a friendly debate. Yeah. Think of it like intellectual sparring. We'll use all these sources as our weapons, right? So I'm going to be the one championing the idea that this industry, it really is unshakable. But you're going to be playing devil's advocate, finding those like potential cracks in the armor, you know?
I'm game. I always love a good challenge, especially when it involves such a, well, fascinating and honestly, often misunderstood sector.
Perfect. Okay, let's start with your article's big argument, resilience. You say the industry's like digital model is a key factor. They were all over online platforms early on, which, I mean, that proved super helpful during stuff like the COVID lockdowns. In fact, this Restless Network article, it actually suggests that webcam performers, they saw their earnings go up during that time. Crazy, right?
It's true. It's a classic case of being in the right spot at the right time, technologically. So while all these like traditional businesses were scrambling to figure out the whole virtual thing, this industry, they were already there. They had the setup, they had the audience, and the flexibility to really use the situation to their advantage.
And it's not even just about making it through lockdowns. It's about tapping into this like constant demand that exists even when there's a recession. This brings us to that lipstick effect we dug up from Wikipedia, no less. Basically, the idea is that even when money is tight, people still want those little affordable luxuries. They'll like go for a fancy lipstick instead of a pricey handbag. So even when the economy takes a hit, this industry has a built-in safety net. Pretty neat, huh?
It's a wild psychological thing, isn't it? I mean, it suggests that even in hard times, people want some sense of normalcy, a little escape, or maybe, a way to feel good about themselves. And this industry, it just gives them a way to get that. It's easy to access.
Right. But okay, here's where it gets really interesting. And this is something your article, it nailed it. The UK adult industry, it actually benefits from a weak pound because their earnings often come in dollars or euros. Right? So a dip in the pound, it means those earnings are worth more. You even used the example, remember, of a €10 subscription. It became like almost £9.50 when the pound was struggling. I mean, that's a big jump.
Although absolutely. It's like this counterintuitive advantage. Most industries wouldn't even think about it. And to really hammer that point home, there's this Bank Underground paper, and they found that UK manufacturers, they were dealing with a 20% hike in import costs because the pound was so weak. So you've got these other sectors struggling with exchange rates, and this one, it's getting a financial boost.
It's like they've got this secret weapon against like all the economic doom and gloom. And speaking of secret weapons, let's talk about another thing you brought up. Decentralized production. They're not relying on huge factories or typical supply chains. It's more like a network of creators, each doing their own thing.
Precisely. It's this model that gives them incredible agility. They can pivot, adapt, find workarounds way faster than those traditional businesses.
Exactly. In your article, it had this perfect example. Remember when Visa and MasterCard, they stopped processing payments? The creators didn't even blink. They just switched over to crypto and other ways to get paid.
Yeah.
It's like this adaptability superpower they've got.
Talk about resourcefulness, right? And we even found a company doing this, Plesio. They do crypto payment processing, but specifically for this industry. They've carved out this niche because they get the unique challenges and the opportunities in this space.
Okay, so we've got digital domination, a currency edge, and this decentralized model. But let's look at the real world for a sec. Your article talked about how they handled Brexit. And it wasn't just surviving, it was thriving during all that uncertainty.
And don't forget COVID. That Restless Network article showed how lockdowns actually increased the demand for online adult content. It's like they flipped a global crisis into a chance to grow.
It does kind of paint this picture of serious resilience, doesn't it? But now it's my turn to be the devil's advocate. And the first thing I'm going to bring up is regulation. The Online Safety Act, it's all about restricting access to adult content, through age verification and stuff. This independent article, it talks about Ofcom's plans for, stricter enforcement. especially on pay sites and content aggregators.
Yeah, that's a valid point. The whole regulatory scene is definitely changing, and it could have a big impact on the industry. We're talking potential privacy problems, sites getting blocked, even users going to places where there aren't as many rules.
Exactly. And it's not just the Online Safety Act, right? There's the whole VAT thing, especially with, remember, OnlyFans and their legal battles in the EU. OnlyFans was saying they should only pay VAT on their 20% cut, not the entire subscription fee.
And the Politico article, it pointed out that the EU court, they ruled against them. That could set a precedent, and create this huge financial burden for platforms and creators.
So even with all their, strengths, it's not like they're totally immune to outside pressures.
True. And if we're talking about long-term threats, well, we can't ignore the elephant in the room, right? AI-generated content. Bloomberg's predicting a $1.3 trillion market for generative AI by 2032. What happens when AI can create this hyper-realistic custom adult content, but super cheap?
That's a fascinating thought and a bit unsettling, honestly. Could we see human creators becoming, obsolete?
It's not just about the money either. The IWF report, they highlighted another scary thing: AI being used to make child sexual abuse material. In just 1 month, they found over 20,000 AI-generated images on a dark web forum. It's this reminder that even with tech advancing so fast, we still need those safety measures and ethical considerations.
It's a stark reminder that the future it's rarely clear-cut. So, I mean, what's the verdict? Is the UK adult industry really unshakable?
I think the answer is more nuanced than just a yes or no. They're incredibly resilient, adaptable, and they've got this amazing track record of overcoming challenges. But there are some serious headwinds out there. Whether they can weather those storms, it depends on if they can innovate, adapt, and maybe even reinvent themselves.
Well said. A huge thanks to you for sharing your article. It was so thought-provoking. It was the perfect jumping-off point for this deep dive.
It was my pleasure, really.
And to you listening, we'll leave you with this final thought.
Hmm.
What other industries out there might they be surprisingly resilient or maybe vulnerable to all the forces shaping our world? Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and you might be surprised by what you find.
It really does highlight how, I don't know, maybe we kind of take for granted how stable some industries are. Like we just assume that industries built on like actual stuff, physical goods or traditional services, that those are the safe ones. But this whole deep dive, it's really making us question that.
Oh, for sure. It's like this reminder that adaptability, innovation, and honestly, a little bit of, I don't know, audacity to just face change head on. Those are powerful things.
And maybe a healthy dose of skepticism too, right? We can't just assume that because something's worked in the past, it's a guarantee for the future.
Yeah, totally. New tech, changing social norms, government policies, it all plays a part in how an industry evolves.
And that's true for any sector, not just this one. So to everyone listening, we challenge you to look beyond the headlines. Dig a little deeper into what's shaping the industries all around you.
What hidden strengths or weaknesses might you find? What seems unshakable on the surface but is maybe teetering on the edge, and which ones maybe the underdogs are about to shake things up?
Remember, the most interesting insights, they often come from the unexpected. So keep your eyes open, keep your minds open, and who knows, maybe you'll be the one to uncover the next big economic surprise.
I love that. That's a perfect note to end on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. And remember, the world of knowledge, it's huge and it's full of surprises. So keep exploring. It's almost like we found this hidden world inside the UK economy, one that's, playing by different rules, driven by these unique forces, and facing a future that's both promising and kind of risky all at the same time.
It really does make you think about all the stuff we just take for granted, about which industries are truly stable. We assume that, I don't know, if it's built on tangible things, actual products or traditional services, that those are automatically more secure. But this deep dive, it's challenged that whole idea.
Well, absolutely. It's this reminder that being able to adapt, to innovate, and honestly just having a little bit of, I don't know, guts, to just go for it, to face change head on, that's powerful stuff.
And maybe a healthy dose of skepticism too, right? We can't just assume that because something's worked before, it's a guarantee for the future. It's so true. New tech, changing social norms, government policies, it all It all shapes how an industry goes.
And that's true for any industry, not just this one.
Yeah.
So, to everyone listening, we challenge you to like look past the headlines, really dig into what's shaping the industries all around us.
Yeah, like what hidden strengths are there, what weaknesses, what might look unshakable from the outside but is maybe like on shaky ground. And then who are the underdogs, the ones who are going to come in and change everything?
You got to remember the best insights, they usually come from where you least expect them. So keep those eyes open, keep those minds open, and who knows, maybe you'll be the one to find the next big economic shocker.
I love that. That's a perfect way to wrap things up.